Here we go. We're in there. Hey, good morning, Paradigm Shifters Part 2. Yes, this is Christmas traditions, old and new. And we have Suzanne Keiper with us in here. Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Judy.
Well, what kind of exciting things went on with you today that you knew something was going on?
It seemed like nothing electronic wanted to work today. The power went out twice. The second time was right before I was getting on with you. So I tried getting on via my phone and that didn't want to work either. And I couldn't get a strong signal. And I normally have no issues with my phone. So electronically, we had the gremlins in there or something today. And then I get back and find out now we have power back and everything's working. So
yeah, so this is divine timing. Divine timing. Well, so we were talking about, well, this is taking a deep breath into December 22nd, 2020. Wow. And so much has gone on. Winter solstice, the combining of the Saturn and Jupiter and the Bethlehem star, and you name it. That was yesterday. And so there's this energy shift. You know, and so it's like the energy shift. Let's turn off the power for a while. And now we're back on. So we were talking about some kind of like maybe traditions that you grew up with that you cannot do, or maybe it just doesn't fit anymore. And then what you would love to create for this year. And, you know, for Christmas, this season, the end of 2020, whatever it is. So tell us a little bit about where you're zooming in from, and you saw yours.
I am zooming in from Ashburn, Virginia. And we had a lot of different traditions growing up as a kid. We had a small farm. And when we first moved there, we all were planting trees, and they were Christmas trees. So by the time, you know, a couple of years were going on, we were taking our own Christmas trees from our land. So we had our own Christmas trees. And we have since moved because that was upstate New York. So we don't have that available these days. And but I'm wearing my current one at the moment. But there are places that you can go to get trees, but it's not the same now. It doesn't feel the same to go do that because I'm kind of doing it by myself. But one of the things that we did do that I do still find that if I have the time, I like to do is see the Christmas lights on the houses. And when I moved, I moved Thanksgiving weekend, and just driving around that weekend, there are lights everywhere. So I could walk and see them now as opposed to go driving. And so that's still something that I can do. But things are so different now. You know, I don't live anywhere near the family. Some of our families in California, most of us are on the East Coast. So I'd really like to do, interestingly enough, a Zoom tradition. And to get on, let's say like 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern time. That way the folks on the western side of the country can have the kids do their thing, you know, open the presents, hang out, play with them for a while. And then by noontime for them, which would be 3:00 here, we could all get together on Zoom and we can all see each other. Talk to each other no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we can still see each other, you know, and we can have that fellowship. We can, you know, and be able to really just talk to one another and hang out. And yeah, that's something that I really want to create as a new tradition because we're starting to scatter.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And scattering is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because it's pushing us out of the nest that we're so with to a place we know nothing about to grow. you know, and that's one of the reasons I moved, is because I wanted to grow. And every time I move again, I grow more and I grow more. So traditions and growing, that would be fun to find out what everybody's next growing step is. That would be a fun Christmas conversation.
And to have the well, to have the awareness that perhaps conversations are much deeper now than they would have been before, you know, because I'm just finding that there's a lot more concern for each other. You know, how's your health? You know, what are you doing to take care of yourself? You know, without telling them, but like, are you taking care of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation, and you know, what does taking care of yourself look like in Virginia?
Right.
What does taking care of yourself look like in, say, Hawaii or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, we got like 2 inches of snow the other day, which
Really?
was beautiful. I loved it. And then it rained afterwards. So the trees were covered in ice, just a little layer so the trees weren't hurt. But, you know, my family in upstate New York got 3 feet of snow in one day. 3 feet. So, yeah, I'm like checking in, seeing who's, you know, texting on Facebook or whatever to see who's got, you know, who's got how much snow. Is everybody okay? And everybody kind of checks in and posts a picture. So, yeah. I mean, what do you do with 3 feet of snow other than look at it? You know what I'm saying? And start shoveling.
Well, I think that's the beauty of the beauty of this interconnectedness, that we are having, or we're feeling it more and more. It's not us and them, you know,
Right.
and that
Right.
we're more of a global new traditions. I'll tell you something funny that I saw the other day. You know, as far as like new stuff, it was this in the house. There was a mom and there was a grandma and these kids, and what she had done, you know, the ceiling fans. Maybe you don't have ceiling. Yeah, she had taken on each blade of the ceiling string coming off each one, and on the end of the string, a bottle of different colored paint. Okay. And then
on the ceiling fan.
Yes, I look like, okay. And then I'm like, oh, what is she doing? You know, they really lost it, you know? So she had a canvas and she would squirt different colors of the paint on the canvas, Christmas colors, just like, you know. And then she goes, and I'm going to make spin art. And I'm like, oh my God. And she took it, she had created in her house a cardboard box with, and she took you know, those screwdrivers, electric screwdrivers.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
She put the electric screwdriver in the back of the canvas, and she put it in this cardboard box and hit the screwdriver, and it spun and spun and spun. And then she brought it out, and it was the most beautiful painting. And they hung it up on the wall.
Cool. That's very cool.
So I'm like, okay. You know, that, I mean, one, to think up of that, to think up of how every single one in the household could have something to do, not knowing if they're going to get paint all over it. And the grandma was into it. So, and it was just one of those weirdo ideas I saw. I was like, okay. Okay. Well, so on Christmas Eve, our friend Diane Gramillion from Hawaii is making cookies on a Zoom. And everybody can bring, and she has the recipes. You can get your own ingredients, and you can have a bake-a-thon with her on Zoom. And I think it's like 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
I still got to get my kitchen organized then. I better do that quick.
There you go. So what would you love to say to everybody on this beautiful season? You know, what would you love to offer for them? You know,
What's coming up in my heart is to do what you love, talk to those you love, and give more love.
And so it is. Big hug. Thanks so much for coming on here. And I'm gonna